Insta360 next flagship. 360 camera has finally shown its face. A new leak has given us our first real look at the Insta360 X6. And the source behind it isn't some random tipster. It's Roland Quandt, a German leaker at WinFuture with a long, reliable track record of catching products before their official reveal. The images were pulled straight from a retailer listing that went live ahead of schedule, and alongside them came solid pricing and spec details. Between this leak and the camera's regulatory filings, we now have a genuinely trustworthy picture of what Insta360 is about to release. And today's video is sponsored by no one. If you want to book this spot, just mail us. The big story here is the design, and it's a real departure. Every X series camera up to this point has kept the same tall, narrow candy bar shape with a lens on each end. The leaked images show Insta360 walking away from that formula entirely. The X6 has a shorter, thicker body that looks much closer to a traditional action camera, sitting in the same general proportions as the DJI Osmo 360. This is a deliberate move from Insta360, and it lines up with a brand that knows it needs to answer the pressure building in the 360 camera market. It's also worth looking at how fast this lineup has been moving. There were almost exactly 2 years between the Insta360 One X2 and the Insta360 X3. That gap dropped to about a year and a half between the X3 and X4, and it shrank again to just 1 year between the X4 and X5. The X6 is following that same tightened, roughly annual rhythm, and the reason isn't a mystery. DJI has pushed hard into this space with the Osmo 360, which already ships with native 8K at up to 50 frames per second and 10-bit color, and GoPro has re-entered the conversation with the Max 2. Insta360 has held the top spot in 360 cameras for years, but that lead only holds if the X series keeps moving faster than everyone chasing it. The core layout still holds up. 2 fisheye lenses, one front and one back, doing the work of stitching together a full 360-degree view. The small side touchscreen carries over too, now reshaped with softer, rounded edges compared to the X5. Expected to keep handling quick settings and instant playback, the same job it's always done. The leaked images also show the shutter and power buttons sitting along the side of the camera, next to the battery compartment, along with new cooling vents built into the body. A sign Insta360 is managing heat differently in this smaller shell. A tripod mount, a recording indicator light, and multi-directional microphones round out the build. None of these are radical changes to how the camera functions, but the compact new shape alone makes the X6 instantly recognizable next to its predecessor. On weight, the X6 is landing close to the X5's roughly 200 grams, with a real chance it comes in lighter, closer to 180 grams, now that the body itself is smaller. A lighter, more compact camera also makes more sense on a selfie stick, since it puts less strain on your arm during long handheld shots, and it makes the camera easier to stitch cleanly since the 2 lenses sit closer together on a shorter body. The retail images line up closely with everything else we've seen, so the general shape and build of this camera is locked in at this point. The Essentials bundle is expected to bring back the accessory kit Insta360 has leaned on for past launches: an invisible selfie stick, a spare battery, a lens cap, and some kind of carrying case have all shown up in previous X series bundles, and there's no reason to expect the X6 breaks from that pattern. The invisible selfie stick in particular has become something of a signature accessory for the brand, since it disappears from the final 360 footage and makes it look like the camera is floating on its own. Expected to remain the centerpiece of whatever bundle Insta360 puts together this time around. On video, the standout upgrade is 8K at 50 frames per second in full 360-degree mode. That's a clear step up from the X5, which is capped at 8K but only at 30 frames per second. Smoother 8K footage translates directly into better results when you reframe a shot after recording, which is the whole reason people buy a 360 camera in the first place. There was talk earlier on of 8K at 60 frames per second, but the leaked on-screen menu spells out 8K 50 directly, so that's the number to go with. Bit depth is the one detail the leak doesn't spell out. 10-bit video has been near the top of the wish list for the X series for a while, since it captures far more color information than standard 8-bit footage, and gives creators a lot more room to grade without the image breaking down. The difference is straightforward. 8-bit video can show around 16.7 million colors, while 10-bit pushes past a billion, which means smoother gradients and far more flexibility in post. The leaked retail screen only displays resolution and frame rate, not codec or color depth, so this detail is still pending. But everything else about this release points to Insta360 finally making the jump. The sensor is the one area where the sourcing gets thinner. There's talk of a full 1-inch sensor, which would be a real jump from the X5's dual 1/1.28-inch sensors and would mean a genuine leap in low-light performance. The leaked images and retail listing don't spell this out directly, so we're treating it as a strong lead rather than a locked-in spec. What we do know is that Insta360 has improved low-light performance with every X5 generation over the X4, and there's no reason to think that trend stops here. Battery capacity is landing in the 2,600 to 3,000 mAh range, a real bump that should translate into longer 8K recording sessions than the roughly 3 hours you get out of the X5 today. Waterproofing is holding steady at the same roughly 49-foot depth rating as the current model. That's not a downgrade. 49 feet already covers what nearly everyone actually does with these cameras, from pool days to light snorkeling. It's simply an area Insta360 isn't touching this generation, since the rest of the camera is getting the bigger overhaul. Alongside the hardware, Insta360 is pushing a deeper AI layer into its studio app. That means faster, smarter highlight detection, better subject tracking during editing, and quicker one-click reframing for turning raw 360 footage into a normal-looking video without hours of manual work. This software layer has become just as important as the hardware itself for 360 cameras, since most people don't want to sit and manually reframe their footage. Insta360 leaning further into automated editing tracks exactly with where the rest of the industry is headed, especially with rivals investing just as heavily in AI-assisted editing tools. On pricing, the European retail listing puts the base Insta360 X6 at around €689, with a more complete Essentials bundle landing closer to €789. The X5 launched in Europe at about €589, so this points to a roughly €100 jump for the base model, and a similar dollar increase in the US wouldn't be a surprise if that pattern holds. The X5 debuted in the US at $549.99, which would put the X6 somewhere in the $650 to $700 range. European pricing already includes VAT, so it doesn't translate one-to-one into US figures, but the direction is clear. This generation costs more than the last one,